Wallace here with Leland Best. So you've got me and Leland. Leland knows a whole lot more than I do about everything streaming, YouTube, Facebook, Get Vocal, and on and on. I mean, Leland's got a resume a mile long, and he's a teacher, he's a mentor, and man, I treasure every moment that he's on the air here because I learned so much. So Leland, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How's yourself?
Pretty good. And today we're going to talk about the mobile creator from YouTube. And I've got it on a Android device here. Oh, this is okay. Here we go. Okay, here it is on an Android device. And here it is. I just downloaded it on an iOS, so we can look at both today. Leland, what's your view on this mobile YouTube creator? What have you used it? Do you know about it? What do you think about it? Good, bad, different?
Well, for me, mobile isn't really my biggest gig, but I do some recordings, and when I do, it's usually Facebook Live. But I was always waiting for something to come out of YouTube where you could honestly just go live and play that part on YouTube that you need to do and be able to do the little, add-ons like put a splash card and what have you on top of your videos. But me being more of a desktop-oriented individual, I'm dealing with just the havoc between the old Creator Studio on desktop and the new Creator Studio. So if this is brand new, I have not seen it yet. So can you give me a little rundown on what you think the best things about it are, and then I'll kind of interject what I think we need on a mobile app for a YouTube Live thing.
All right, very good. I'll do that. And before I do that, let me say hi to Colin, who just joined us, and another guy who knows a whole lot more than I do.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I would like to mirror Leland's comments here. I'd used the old Creator Studio on the web, using the web interface. I had been dealing mostly with live streamed content rather than recorded content. We did a lot of work with Hangouts on Air, which is aggravating that it's either there or not there at any given time. And so you can't even get access to that through the new Creator Studio on the website. I've not even attempted to work with the mobile Creator Studio. It sounds like a great idea if they can do, like Leland's saying, chyrons and dynamic insertion on the fly like that.
And that's what I'm going to look at real quick. Is that a separate app from the YouTube app that you're talking about, Paul?
It is a separate app from the YouTube app.
So it might be I haven't seen yet. All right.
I think I had gone so far as to install it just to do channel management, and that was my recollection of what the thing did. But it does significantly more than that now, huh?
Yeah, it's got all these things you can see here. I don't know if you can read that, but I'll try to hold it
up
where you can read what it does. Those are the menu options there. It's got your dashboard. Then it shows you your videos. You can sort them according to views or most recent. What else does it have? It has,
I obviously don't have that one installed on my phone right now. So
yeah, you got it installed.
I have
it has comments, analytics. It doesn't really have an option to like launch a broadcast or do anything like that. I got all excited. I thought, man, I could actually do everything I could do on YouTube Creator.
And it was last updated on January 24th. So there's obviously some continued improvements that are taking place on this app.
Just to be sure I have this right, this is the app called YT Studio, right?
YouTube
Studio.
Okay. Yeah.
It's got the logo for it.
Yeah, with
3 stars.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same on Android as it is on here. See, there's the YT Studio. So you've got something else.
What's this? Second screen experience? Is this something you can add a viewer now into this? Because this is something I'm not familiar with. If they're incorporating Hangouts on Air into the new YouTube Creator app, maybe. Something like that.
Well,
mostly it's for analytics. I mean, I can see that I did a video way back at South by called Bush's Brain. It got 6,000 hits. I did another one, Chromecast, 4,000 hits. So it's good for analytics.
Nice.
It's good for managing your playlist, your comments. It's got analytics.
yeah.
Here's your analytics.
Well, the very old version of the YouTube Creator Studio did that from the beginning, and the mobile app did that from the beginning, the analytics.
Yeah.
But over the last couple of months, I've been doing a lot of work with Hangouts on Air as it relates to creating an event within YouTube Live. So one of the options when you create an event is to use Hangouts on Air and make it an interview style setup where you can have multiple people join and so on. So we've been using this in a number of groups that I'm involved with to chat about 3D printing. So we do like a daily hangout and just a bunch of guys that hop on and chat about the projects they're working on and so on, which is very cool. It's extremely unstructured as opposed to some of the other guest invitation type systems that you might use when setting up a podcast, for example. But so let's see what they've got in here. Other than I'm still waiting for it to reinstall on my tablet here.
Yeah, it's pretty minimal. If you're a minimalist, you'll like this because
I see this.
Minimal.
It basically looks like the YouTube channel interface right there on your phone now, which was a little more elaborate than just I can't really show it that well with the lighting, than just the playback that it used to be. It was primarily for playback and not access to your account. But it seems like they keep adding the video access, the analytics, the YouTube Connect, which takes you over to watch stuff as well. But as far as publishing content, I don't see anything here that's much different than just what the YouTube interface would have been. So for me, I would love to see the ability to go live on YouTube and then invite a guest immediately, just like they do on Facebook. Is that a feature they've built into this now that you can do? Because I know you can go live just like before right here. So if I go live, the question is...
Oh, you can go live from this interface?
Yeah, if you go to the camera up the camera
you go to
in the
the
upper
camera.
right corner. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Right up here when you go to YouTube, you basically go into YouTube first in order to do that. But
all right, so you've selected to the bottom option in the YouTube Studio, which just launches the YouTube app, though.
Pretty much is what happens.
Right, because in my display here, it actually actively shows that the bottom menu option there is to launch the YouTube app.
Oh, yeah. Mine's beyond. Well, there's settings and send feedback and help below that as well on my phone. Okay,
so for mine, the YouTube app with the arrow, and it's an arrow to indicate that it's launching the YouTube app.
Yeah, yours is at the bottom. Mine's like 4 steps up, so there's a little bit of a discrepancy.
That's what, Android?
Yeah. Oh, are you on an Apple? Yeah, it's probably.
Yeah, so I'm on. I'm doing this on an iPad.
I can't see it. The screen's too bright to show.
But I could just as easily bring it up on an Android to compare here.
Are you guys in the Core Elite on YouTube? Do you have like 4,000 hours or 80,000 views or anything?
Oh,
I don't. I'm not in the Core Elite.
I used to be. I was ticked when they started adding those requirements. I had been one of those original channels from back in 2006, and as soon as they enabled monetization, I set that up. I didn't actually do anything with it, but having monetization yanked away from me after that lengthy period of time was quite aggravating. So no, I'm not in that list.
Hey, Alexander, glad to have you in here. Another guy who knows a whole lot more than I do. How are you doing?
Good.
We're talking about
actually, I set up my original
YouTube
account in 2006 as well, before YouTube was actually owned by Google.
Oh yeah,
but I never really did anything with it. I was the same way. I never had thousands of views or anything, but it was basically just a place to store videos of my kids and football games and things like that. I didn't really do much with it. I wasn't trying to monetize it like people want to make money off of YouTube.
I've made a couple hundred. Well, I'm my second $100 worth somewhere off of AdSense. I've pulled $100 check out of Google. I've got about $25 in AdSense revenue sitting on a shelf waiting for me to get to $100 worth of ad revenue.
I wish back then I'd like done something with it. I'd probably have 1 million followers now or something if I'd kind of really put some effort into it, but kind of to add some force,
It's all about effort, because you can't do anything unless you have 4,000 hours or 240,000 minutes.
Not true, because the only thing that's opening up the gateway to is the ad revenue, to be able to make money on YouTube from Google's ad source. And you don't have to use Google's ad source to make money off of YouTube. You could sell an ebook. You could have them subscribe to a membership site. You could give them a service for free. There's so many things you can prompt. You could have sponsorships from other people that are paying you to broadcast their product on your show, that type of stuff. So
but you're not getting money from YouTube.
That's other ways.
That's the point. So there are a number of perfectly reasonable and commonly accessible revenue streams for content creators on YouTube. Right. You'll notice, though, that there are a lot of new streaming platforms coming up that integrate the monetization for you, like Floatplane, Linus Sebastian's setup. What was the other? BitTorrent? No, BitTube was another one.
Yep.
There are a bunch of these things, and I don't know that that's any better than the use of Patreon or some of these other ones. DonorBox, I think, is another one. There are bunches of these because it's just like printing money. There's no, the margins are built right in. You don't have to provide content, which was like the holy grail of web development in 2000-ish, right?
Yeah.
Have user generated content. Well, here they've got user generated content and they're just cashing checks. What I don't understand, and I do understand it, but it irritates me nonetheless, that YouTube creators should be in a position to implement something like Stripe or some other credit card processing framework on their own website very easily, because it's in Stripe's business, or in their interest and in their business model, to make their API as easy to use and as friendly as possible. These other companies should not exist that operate within that take a chunk out of that revenue by providing a middleman service, taking something that is relatively simple and making it incredibly simple. That margin shouldn't exist. That business space opportunity shouldn't exist for these tiny little companies. And I want to see YouTube and I want to see Stripe squeeze these businesses out of existence. Just like the people who are operating businesses placing Facebook ads for companies. Come on, it's in Facebook's interest to make self-service ads as self-service as possible. And so these companies that go into these market spaces that should not exist, or that will by definition shrink to zero, I just don't get it, and it irritates me every time I see it.
Well, they're solving a problem if there's a need for that, but unfortunately they've propped up because they're solving a problem.
They are, but they're solving a very short-term problem.
Right.
If you enter a market space, you want to be solving a problem in a growing market space, not a shrinking one. I mean,
all it would take was somebody just do a couple of, hours of search, and they could figure out how to do it on their own.
Right.
But
but people are lazy and are willing to pay people to do it, so they'll pay people. That doesn't make it a good business. That makes it a short-term profitable business, maybe. That doesn't make it a good business.
Let me ask the three of you.
I'm done with my rant. Sorry.
Let me ask the three of you this, starting with Leland. And what is the most successful video you've ever published, and what was it about, and why was it successful?
That's cool that you asked that question, because I'm actually looking to revamp a lot of I've put several videos on the front page of Google for a long extended period of time, but one of my favorites was one that I did on how to transcribe videos with YouTube. And it was simply using their closed captioning system to be able to take a video, upload it to YouTube, download the VTT file, stretch out all the timestamps, and pull out all the garbage that you don't need, and then re-upload that text into YouTube again to create a proper closed caption file. Because it's that audience you don't reach all the time. And I've probably received, I could go check, I believe that video has probably hit, I have two videos very similar to them. One's hit 32,000 times over the last 5 years, and the other one's 27,000 views. So I actually had a company come to me who ran a transcription service and realized I was on the front page of both YouTube and Google with that video for a couple of years. And they said, hey, can we drop a link on your broadcast for our transcription service to show that there's another way that you can do it if you'd like. So I made several $100s off of that connection that I made with someone outside of YouTube that said, hey, we've got a service, and I get a much higher discount than most people do for the service just because I push some traffic to them. So that would have to be my most successful. And I even took that video and updated it 2 years later because the CC system had changed so much on YouTube that I felt an update was required. So even that, so amongst the two videos, I've received close to 60,000 hits on it, but it's nothing compared to what you see in viral videos. I mean, those are 1 million, 2 million, 4 million hits. That's a whole different ballgame.
How about you, Colin? What's your most successful?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I guess Alexander and I are both in the same boat where we set up our YouTube accounts before Google bought YouTube, and
I think I did too. Yeah.
And I think I posted a video where I was trying out the accelerometer built into an early MacBook that I had or something, you know, with the lightsaber something or other. You know, it got a couple of thousand views, which is ridiculous, but it's only got a couple of thousand views because it's been on for 18 or 12 years or something,
yeah,
right? But no, the more successful videos for me have been live streams where I built things, where I assembled a Prusa i3 Mark III 3D printer, built another printer of my own from scratch. And so these are like series of 4 to 6 videos, and they get a couple of thousand views. But there are very niche players in this space.
That's a specific thing that somebody was probably looking for that, and that's probably very valuable information for the people that watched that. You know, I mean, they were specifically looking for that.
Exactly, and it is a niche thing, and that's the beauty of the internet. I mean, we could. This is well known, right? You know, there you can reach every niche that you want to reach, and that niche is as large as you can imagine it being because you're reaching everybody in that space. Yeah. As opposed to all the guys in, you know, North Carolina in this space, which are 6, you know. Yeah.
What about you, Alexander?
I have a video that's got
about. Or if I cut you off, Colin, did you have anything else?
No. I'm just hacking up along here.
Okay, well, I'll let you hack away while Alexander talks.
I need to pull it up. I think I have it's a football video. It's a single wing. I have this package that I sell online. It's called singlewingyouthfootball.com. And I have it's like $9.95, and you get it's like a 7-page PDF that I put together like 10 years ago. And then for, I think it's $29.99, you get that PDF and like a 100-page PowerPoint that I put together that actually has a breakdown of defenses and offensive plays and like practice plans and like a wrist coach for the quarterbacks and things. And then I've got a $49.99 plan and then these are just one-time costs where you get access to like these cheesy little classroom style kind of like whiteboard videos where I'm drawing out football plays that I did one afternoon. And but what happens is I basically, if you buy the $9.95 or the $29.95 or the $49.95, I just usually give it all away. So hopefully nobody sees this and wants to buy it now. But I mean, even if you buy because really it's just too much work for me to like do it. So I just basically just give them a link to one of, I've got an open G Drive account, and I just send them like the PDF and they get it. And, but anyway, one of the videos I have, it's got like 26,000 views. I'm trying to pull it up now. It's a sample. It's a sample single wing. And it's actually this high school out of Florida. Apopka High School, Florida. They're they're famous for running the single wing offense, and they've run like multiple state championships, and they've had like, just numerous guys. I mean, one year they had 3 running backs run for over 1,500 yards each, and they just completely just blow people out. I mean, they just steamroll people, and it's just a single wing offense. And that's what I've coached youth football for like 10 years, and I've got and actually, a friend of mine just called me last week to see if I wanted to get back into coaching because my son's 17. So I've kind of aged out of it. Once he got out of middle school, I kind of got out of it because he was, now he's in high school and I just following him. But that's probably that is the one. I need to pull it up. But I've got a couple others that have had 3,000 or 4,000 hits. But I've got a couple of YouTube channels. It's called YouthSportsPicks.com. If you look at Youth Sports Picks on YouTube. PIX, Youth Sports PIX. It's a channel that I set up, 8-9 years ago to do youth photography and youth videos. Because I do on the side, I do college recruiting videos for players, and I do highlight videos for teams and individuals. And it's just kind of a side hobby that kind of turned into a little side business. I mean, I don't make a whole lot of money doing it, but I just kind of really got into it. And because I have 4 kids and my twin daughters, they're 25 now. Back when they were like 12 and 13, they started playing travel volleyball, and they were playing, softball all growing up. And we traveled all over the Southeast playing travel volleyball and softball. And I got a camera, and I was just recording them and started throwing together these videos. And then kind of one thing led to another where I kind of actually learned a little bit about Adobe Premiere and how to edit videos and things, and a little hobby turned into something.
You're real good there. Nick Saban might be calling you any minute now. Get some pointers. No, he doesn't need them, though.
It's a perfect little offense for youth football. Now, once you get into middle school and high school, I don't know if it'll be although Apopka, Florida, I mean, if you got some really good D1 caliber athletes running it, it can be pretty hard to stop. But it's a perfect offense for youth, for guys, kids that are 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
Well, moving on, I'll to answer my own question. My number one video was Bush's Brain. It was a session at South by Southwest in 2003. And then number 2 and 3 were Chromecast videos.
In 2003?
Yeah. When Chromecast came out, I did some instructional videos on how to use Chromecast. That was a couple of years ago. Number 4 was a walking tour with Trey Ratcliffe, a photographer who's well known. We did a walking tour of Austin. Number 5 was a Google party that they threw at Franklin Barbecue. If you've ever been to Austin, Franklin Barbecue is world renowned. And then number 6 was about my rental place out in Cedar Creek, which I call the pool house. It was just a tour of the house. Number 7, I'll do 2 more. Number 7 was Kyle Samani, who had what's the Google eyepiece that no longer is around anyway? What was that called?
Google Glass.
Google Glass. Yeah, Google Glass. He had Google Glass for surgeons.
Which actually, I think that's a little bit ahead of its time. I think stuff like that's going to come back. I think that's a real technology.
It'll come back in a different form factor. That's for sure. Yeah.
5G will be able to support that.
Yeah.
Number 9 was Darren Kitchen with Hack 5. Have you ever heard of Darren Kitchen with Hack 5?
I don't know.
He's like the ultimate hacker. And then I unboxed a coffee maker. Then Lance Armstrong's last rally before his last Tour de France. That only got 494 views. And then the last one that I'll mention was I did a video on an electric hot rod that got 427 views. I thought it should have got thousands and thousands of views. It only got 427. Anyway, so what's the verdict on mobile YouTube creator? What's the verdict? We'll go around and get the verdict from Leland, and then Colin, and so on.
Well, I think for me anyway, it's all about, as a producer, what are your primary tools in your toolbox? For me, my tools are primarily desktop. And when I do record anything to my phone, it's not going to be through a third-party service. I'm just going to hit the record camera on my phone, record the video, upload it to an editor, and then go from there. Though I can see its use if you're on the fly, you don't have any other availability to a PC or a Mac or whatever, where say you're on vacation and you want to create some lifestyle videos or travel videos, if they can give you the features to sub-edit, which I think they're doing really, is being able to trim and paste and copy and put a title sheet on it and all that, they have some opportunity for growth. But if they're just simply giving you an interface to YouTube to go live like any other app, then it's just that. It's just another app, and it's more noise to me. So either pick a place to broadcast from, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, and use the tools available. If they work for you, use them. If they don't, set them aside and find something that does.
Colin, what's your verdict?
Well, I mean, I had grabbed an early version of YouTube's the Creator Studio app, and I used it for analytics, and it does a perfectly adequate job of it. What Leland's talking about is something closer to Wirecast Go, which was very cool, which Wirecast killed off, or they rearranged it and made it a paid app or some such other nonsense. Anyway, if we could see some features of Wirecast Go implemented in the Creator Studio, that would be very cool. Where you have chyrons and you have lower third, well, that's the same thing. You have, basic overlays.
Here, this kind of stuff, where you can
the basic overlays that you can introduce. Because in reality, a YouTube creator is going to have their own gear and do their own live setup. They're not going to be doing it through a phone. But there are those cases where they're just on the fly and they want to record something live, and they have, these things set up for their convenience. If it is that convenient, that would be great. But it's a very narrow space you're working in there. Professional creators who don't have their professional equipment with them, which I don't know. It's a tough call.
Alexander, your verdict. Fine, your verdict on.
Well,
mobile.
I had tried with the earlier version. I'm actually installing it right now. Most of mine, if I'm doing a YouTube stuff, it's going to be on the desktop and just using a full-fledged desktop, other than maybe doing a live stream or something, just through the normal traditional YouTube app. I haven't really used it a whole lot, quite honestly. I'm actually going to start playing with it now. I haven't really used it a whole lot, so I don't really have a whole lot of insight.
Yeah, I just installed it today when Paul asked me to come out here. So for me, I can't really comment a lot on it until I maybe get into the app.
I mean, it looks pretty good from what I'm looking at it. I mean, it looks like it's got some pretty good features.
And it was just updated 4 days ago. So there could be stuff in there that's new that I'm not familiar with yet.
It didn't look particularly new. Like I said, I'd been using it. And so here's my story, my excuse. When Paul asked us to do this, I thought he was talking about the new version of the web-based Creator Studio. And so I was prepared to talk about that. By coincidence, I had previously installed the Creator Studio app, or the YT Studio app, and had been using it for analytics. I hadn't found it useful for much more than that. But yes, I had used it for quite some time. I haven't seen significant feature improvements since I installed it, a year ago? I think it's a little bit less than a year old. Well, I don't know. I've had it for at least 8 months, probably more. But I did find that I hadn't used it recently enough that the iPad had decided that it was so unimportant to me that it would uninstall it to make room for other things. So I don't know what that says about its value overall, but I guess I hadn't been using it enough in that sense.
I recently got the Adobe Creative Cloud, I had like an old version from 2014 or something, Adobe CC, and it worked fine for me. But I just recently upgraded to the Creative Cloud, and so I updated to the newest Premiere and everything. And there's one in there called Premiere Rush, and apparently on the mobile, that's got a really cool mobile app where you can do a lot of this stuff, where you can put, overlay lower thirds and different things. Have any of you guys played with that? Or
I use one called.
No, I don't know if you can stream with it. I think it's just an app that's on your iPhone or Android device where it gives you some kind of editing capabilities more than like
You think
you used to have.
What's your?
Is it
Spark?
Spark?
Adobe Spark is one that you can create quick on the fly 2-minute videos or whatever. Where you can compile.
Yeah, that's Spark. Yeah, there's that where you can do web pages and video stores. But I think it's called Rush.
So I think there is one called Rush, but there's also one called Clip, Adobe Premiere Clip, which is the one that I'm familiar with. It'll take a series of video clips that you choose in the sequence in which you select them, allow you to choose a pacing, and it will automatically chop the video up and create a montage for you and allow you to choose a soundtrack and so on, which I've found quite useful. Not quite the functionality that you're talking about, but they seem to have a bunch of, I don't know, a dozen or more little mobile apps. They're throwing everything against the wall they can think of and seeing what sticks, which is good.
Actually, Adobe Premiere Rush CC, which is the new all-in-one video editing tool as of October. So that's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Premiere Rush, yes. So
Okay.
it's obviously an offshoot off of Adobe Premiere that's taken to probably.
Oh, so it's not necessarily mobile. Well, yeah, you could.
Yeah,
There is a mobile version of it. Yeah,
That's what it is. But it's both. You can get mobile and desktop.
it just makes it easier to share online. I guess if you're on your mobile and you have something really cool, you got a couple of really cool clips that you just did, and you want to kind of do a little bit more than just posting individually. You can kind of weave them together and add maybe some background music or something, and an overlay lower third or something.
They seem to have a
cut out on
strategy whereby
Leland,
I don't mean to cut you short or anything, but my show starts at 12 noon Eastern, so I'm going to go prepare for that.
tell everyone where they can find you. That's all before you duck out, okay?
Yeah, sure. bcblive.com is the best place to locate me. There's contact information there on the website. That's where we give everything out as far as live streaming goes. I'm there to support the online broadcasters. So just get a hold of me if you need anything, or you can come by at noon and check us out over on networking methods here on Get Vocal. So I'll be live.
Check you out at noon. And what does the C stand for in the BCB?
That's Best Conceptions Broadcasting is what that is.
Best Conceptions, bcblive.com.
That's right.
All right, Leland. Thank you.
Paul.
Thank you.
My pleasure. All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. I guess what else? You guys have anything else you want to talk about or add before we duck out of here?
Well, I just wanted to comment on it. It does seem interesting that Adobe is pursuing this strategy where they've got half a dozen or dozen different mobile apps, and they all seem to cater to a slightly different market in that they provide a slightly different set of not same functionality but different levels of complexity. So they're trying to target different use cases, I guess, from the selfie generation up to serious video editors, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. I mean, I've not used Rush. I had used a Premiere Clip, which worked perfectly well for my use case. I ended up creating a very snazzy little montage that was akin to the things you see on comedians in cars getting coffee, the coffee making montages they do. Took me like 5 minutes, including the time it took to make coffee. Kind of amazing. Probably not something that YouTube wants to start doing, but in that they're not really in the
YouTube wants to be the platform. They want to be the back end.
Not in the production business, but they could they could produce decent production tools if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's if it's all kind of cloud based and online, and that's kind of where Adobe's and everything I guess is moving to the cloud, where basically the heavy lifting is in the cloud. and you just have like an app or an application that can interface that.
There was a really interesting podcast I saw the other day. Believe it or not, this thing was a year old. It was a presentation by a guy at Andreessen Horowitz. They were talking about the death of the cloud.
Netscape guy?
The death of the cloud, yes. And so what his line of reasoning was, you go from, looking back on the industry, you go from mainframe to desktop to peer-to-peer desktop to cloud. And so you're going from centralized to decentralized to centralized again. And then now he's proposing that now being starting last year or a year ago, we're starting to see everything get pushed back out to the edge again, because you've got, horrendously powerful devices. You've got more power in these things than you do in something you're going to pay $1,000 or $2,000 a month for in terms of server hardware. So, and of course, the other side of that was the lack of 5G networking, and you just can't you gather enough data at the edge that you can't push back onto the cloud, that you need to do all that data processing locally. And there's a lot to be said for that. Especially when you're talking about 4K or 8K video. You don't want to be pushing those raw files around. You want to be able to do all that editing locally on your device. So
I think it'll be a hybrid, but the ebb and flow of back and forth, it's kind of unique that it's kind of interesting that's happening.
It's fascinating. I would not call it unique though. You see that in every industry, right? In the last 25 years that I've been in the IT industry, there was in around 97 or 98, you started seeing large enterprises dividing up their IT organization to put them more locally, peer them with the groups that they're serving. You have a specialty IT office for the engineering division of a company, and a specialty IT office for the marketing division, and so on, because they have entirely different requirements. One organization is building Beowulf clusters, and the other one is managing desktops or something. But and then, of course, you see the same thing, right? Everything gets outsourced and everything gets brought back in. And you see this with end-user customer support, too, with Dell, moving everything off to India and moving it back to the U.S. and so on. It's fascinating, but at some level, I think it's just a basic tenet of business that when you have a new generation of management come in, they have to make their mark by doing something.
They got to change just for the sake of changing.
With the organization structure until they can say, I've done something, and then they move on to the next thing. But there you go. Not related to YouTube, but whatever.
So tell us, you two guys who know a whole lot more than I do, where people can find you and what you basically do.
You can go to alexandercurtis.com. You can find me on Twitter at Alexander. AlexanderCurtis.com. You can find me there, or look me up on Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. I've got several YouTube channels, but I've just been 20 years in the IoT internet connectivity space. I've worked for AT&T, Verizon, Motorola over the years. Know enough to be dangerous. I've been in sales roles. I've been in engineering type of roles. Now I'm kind of transitioning. I do affiliate marketing on the side. I've got 1,000 different things. I'm actually working on too many different things, actually. But live in Nashville, Tennessee. But the best way to find me is just Alexander Curtis online. You can find me just about anywhere.
All right, Alexander.
Exactly the same thing, because we both did exactly the same thing. We stared into the screen, dumbfounded, trying to figure out what we should
where to start.
Right. I've been in IT for 20-something, 25 years, and seen everything, done everything. These days, I'm doing a little bit of software development to entertain myself. I'm doing a little bit of hardware development, just because as a kid I, sat there with a soldering iron and tin snips and tore apart toasters and built radios and all that good shit. So I'm getting back into that, which is great fun. I don't have a product out of it yet, but getting there. But yes, I've done everything there is to do in IT, in the telecom industry, and in academia. You can find me at colinhill.com, I guess.
With 2 L's, right? 2 L's.
COLINHILL.
Oh, 1 L.
1 L and then
1 L.
2 L's. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I should consolidate my social media a little bit and at least put a Chiron up. But yeah.
Luckily, I did most of my stuff so early that it was available. Like Alex, some of my stuff and YouTube and stuff, it was available at the time. Now, if you try to do it, nothing's available without some kind of cryptic digits and numbers and
yeah.
Well, we'll have to do a show on IoT sometime because it's a fascinating subject.
Yeah, it's a big word. It means a lot of things to a lot of different people. There's a lot of different meanings
Internet of things.
IoT.
Many meanings and yet no meaning.
Right.
Yep.
All right, you guys, we're going to call it a wrap, and I really appreciate you stopping by and sharing your insights. We learned a little bit about YouTube mobile creator and some alternatives today, and we heard from Leland Best, and really appreciate it, you guys. Thank you.
See you, Paul. See you, Colin.
All right,
Have a good one, guys.
I'm going to wrap it up here if I can figure out how to publish this thing or end it.